Welcome to Beyond the Nudge, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to grow joyfully, take action with ease, and fully step into their age of empowerment. I'm your host, Kia Eileen, and this is your invitation to go beyond the whispers of intuition, dive deeply into your potential, and create the life and impact you've always dreamed of. Expect monthly themes, transformative insights, powerful frameworks, and practical tools to help you reconnect with your purpose, overcome challenges, and align with your most radiant self. Here's what's in store: practical wisdom, actionable tools, and frameworks from spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics to help you grow. Inspiring stories from me and from others who've transformed their lives and embraced their full selves, and empowered action to help you move from dreaming to doing with clarity and confidence. This is more than just a podcast. It's a space for transformation, empowerment, and connection. If you're ready to move beyond the nudge of intuition and into your fullest expression, you are in the right place. So let's get started. Your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to this latest episode, episode 14 of Beyond the Nudge. So, as we finish off this month's theme of sacred self worth, I thought it would be really interesting and I think important to really talk about the connection between sacred self worth and abundance. And so that's what this episode, episode 14, is. It's themed Sacred Self Worth and Abundance. And when we start talking about abundance, abundance is so much more than just money, the money that you have in the bank, or things, material things. I really believe that abundance really does point to those areas of plenty, those areas of enjoyment in all facets of our lives. And so, you could have abundance of health, of creativity, of relationships and love, um, beauty. What else? What else? Pleasure, freedom, time, space, joy. There are so many areas of abundance that I think it's important to look at. And it's so much more than just money. And I think no matter what area of abundance that you are examining, that you're looking at, it's all going to be connected to self-worth. It's all going to be connected to, how you feel about your worthiness to have that state of being, to have that aspect of life. And when I talk about self-worth, if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, you know that I don't just mean self-confidence. Self-worth that we're talking about is that deep, deep knowing, that deep knowing from within that you are whole already and innately, and that you are worthy already and innately. And so you're already whole, you're already complete, you're already worthy of having an abundance in all areas of your life. And so when I talk about abundance, I mean this free flowing energy that exists around us and within us. And it really means plenty and overflow and abundance, plenty of overflow in all areas of your life. And and so when we think about abundance, especially when we're thinking about, where we are in our lives as women over the age of 50, I like to talk about abundance because so much of what we hear in society, and sometimes so much of what we say to ourselves, is really about what we're losing, what we are no longer, or what we no longer have, what is leaving our lives because of the state, because of the stage of life that we're in. Maybe we're thinking about the children, growing up and leaving home. Maybe we're thinking about losing our looks. or our figure. Maybe we're thinking about being, phased out of work, or maybe we're thinking about leaving work and trying something new. And it's sometimes can be laced with this, melancholy or tinge of sadness about what we're losing, what we're losing. And so I really wanted to sort of bring abundance into our discussion as women over 50, women in our age of empowerment, because I do want us to feel empowered. And so this stage of life shouldn't be just about what we're losing, but really about what we are gaining, what we are becoming in this stage of life. And it is filled with abundance. And so I really wanted to address that today. So, how can we attract more abundance into our lives? How can we attract more abundance into our lives? I mean, who doesn't want more, right? Who doesn't want plenty? And so I think the easy answer is that we can attract more abundance in our lives by realizing that we already have it. And we already have it because we already are it. And so there is this feeling of not reaching for abundance, but of understanding that it's already here with us. We are already abundance. And so when we think about realizing that we are already abundance, we're really talking about how do we live continuously in this state of understanding that we are plenty, that we have everything that we need because we are that state of plenty and overflow and abundance. And so let's talk about how we live in this state, how we live from abundance. Let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into that. So we're going to talk about four things and four ways that we can really feel into this and begin to embody living from abundance on a daily basis. And I think the first thing is to realize that abundance is not who we were. Abundance is not who we were. It's about who we are right now in the present. I hear so many women talk about, what they were in their past, what their life was like, a few decades ago, what their body was like, what their hair was like, even what their minds was like, as sometimes we can be a little bit forgetful in this stage. I know that that sometimes is something that's in my reality. I'm not as mobile as I was. I'm not as energetic as I was. Sometimes I'm more tired, whatever that is. And so we can get caught into this loop of feeling into, oh, my life isn't once what it was. But here's the thing, we are still here, thriving. Hopefully, I feel like you're thriving because I feel that we're all thriving in this day and age. We have much more than maybe our past generations did. And so it's really realizing that, who we are right now in the present is the most abundant we're going to be, right? At any time that we realize that we are in the present, we are sitting in a state of abundance. When we realize that we are standing in the present, we are in a state of abundance. And if you look at where you are right now, look around you. What do you have? You have clean air and clean water, and maybe you're in your home, and so you have a beautiful home. So it's really about being grateful in this moment and about being aware of everything that you are in this moment, because the only thing that we have is the present moment. We don't have the past, we don't have the future. And so if we realize that in the present we are abundant, we are thriving right now, it begins to change your outlook so you're not reaching for the future and you're not lamenting about the past, about what once was. You are standing in this moment saying, I really honor and embrace what is right now. That is a state of abundance. So it's also realizing about your worthiness. Well, if I'm in this moment, this state of abundance, I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of being here. I am worthy of joy and love in this moment. And I accept it. I receive it. It begins to change your vibration. So you get to choose. You get to choose whether you are living in the past or being fearful of the future, of what's to come. You get to choose to stand in this moment and say, "Oh, I feel the vibration of life through me right now." And that is abundant. Life is abundant. And I accept that and I honor that. Because maybe, sometimes we lose sight of that. And so we can begin to say, "Ah, I can stand here right now and be joyful right now just because I am here. I accept my abundance." So it's not about who I was or who I will be, it's about who I am right now. Number two, abundance conditioning. So many of us have a little bit of abundance conditioning, conditioning from past generations who may not have had lives of plenty like we do right now, especially in the Western world. Maybe we have, generations in the past who had to really think about daily survival. And so the thought of having more and plenty is not necessarily, maybe it's not necessarily hardwired in your DNA. And so we can sometimes have generational trauma or conditioning around survival and beliefs like, this is one that I heard quite a lot, you have to work twice as hard as everyone else. You have to be better than everyone else. You have to be more than everyone else in order to get ahead, in order to gain some traction in this world. Beliefs like it's never enough. It's never enough. There's never enough money. There's never enough time. There's never enough, resources. Or maybe, the feeling of plenty and abundance. Maybe there was unstable, financial imprinting in your family. Maybe money was unstable. Or maybe you have a story running that money is evil. You know, wealthy people are evil or money is evil. Maybe you heard things like money doesn't grow on trees. And so, past generations really had to think about, sometimes where their next meal was coming from, how they were going to pay the rent, where they were going to live, buying clothes for their children. And so sometimes we can have this residual scarcity mindset that goes along with thinking about how we receive abundance today. And so I think it's important to honor where we came from, to honor those experiences. They're all a part of us. They're all a part of our makeup and our DNA and how we navigate our lives. We need to honor those experiences and those stories. But I think it's important to recognize where you are right now and choose and decide that even though you can honor those stories, you're not going to be confined or constricted by them. Because here's the thing, we might have generational trauma and generational constraints around how we picture abundance or money or wealth, but we also have generational gifts. We also have generational strengths. Because if you're here, you are the product of very strong, resourceful, gifted people who got you here. So you stand here in this moment because of the incredible strength and love that was in the cellular structure of your ancestors. And so you also inhabit gifts. You hold incredible gifts and memories of joy and beingness that you also get to hold. By very fact that you are here, there are so many generations that went before you for you to be here in this moment, and that is abundant. That is abundant. And so you're standing here as a testament to their abundance. And so I think it's important that we also celebrate those generational gifts. You are the generational gift standing here in this moment. So you get to maybe release some of the generational guilt around where you are and how much you have, and we have sometimes the sense of loyalty that, if my generations previously didn't have this for me, then maybe I feel guilty about holding that. Well, I think if you put your hand on your heart and asked what your ancestors would want for you, they would want you to thrive. They would want you to thrive in all areas of your life. And so you get to accept and receive that when you think about abundance as it relates to generations that have gone before. So maybe we can begin to think about them celebrating us as we accept the abundance that we are, the abundance that they've transferred to us in their love and their gifts and their wishes. We can accept that today with joy in this now moment. Number 3, how do we live every day as if we were abundant? So we live from the frequency of already having it. Abundance isn't something that we're reaching for, that we have to work for, that we have to be good for and earn. Abundance is the frequency of realizing that it is already within us. And so if you're waiting for that moment of doing well or getting the promotion or retiring, whatever it might be, in order to be happy, in order to be joyful, in order to tap into your creativity, maybe we can realize that actually we can have those things right now. So this is really about reclaiming your energetic sovereignty. If you realize that in this now moment you are already abundant, then you get to be joyful, happy, filled with love, giving and receiving love. You get to feel free. You get to hold wealth and share wealth right now. Right now. All of this can happen for you right now if you decide that you are going to live as if you already have it, because you already do, because you already are. And so if you're realizing that right now you are abundance, well, then you can begin to ask yourself some very important questions. Well, if I'm already abundance right now because I'm worthy, well, how do I speak to myself? What is the language I am using in my own head? How do I hold myself? What's my posture like? How am I breathing? How am I speaking outwardly? How am I holding myself? Who am I surrounded by? How do I, what kind of relationships do I have? How do I treat others, and how do I accept being treated by them? What would my energy be like? What decisions do I make on a daily basis? What are my routines like? So you can begin to ask yourself, well, if I am abundance, what am I calling into my life? And what am I sharing in my life? Who am I choosing to become? If you are abundance, who are you choosing to become? If you knew that it wasn't something coming eventually, if it was something that was here right now because you chose to accept it, who are you in that becoming? Asking yourself some of those questions can begin to shift and change your view of abundance, how you receive abundance, and how you hold abundance, because they can be two different things. And an important question as well is, am I holding on to something that I should be letting go of? Am I holding on to something that I really should be letting go of? Because sometimes the fear of not having, or the fear of losing, can keep us holding on to situations, experiences, um, just various things in our lives that really no longer serve us, but we're afraid of the what comes next. And so we're holding on to things that really diminish who we can be in this state of abundance. And if you're holding on to something with your hands closed, you aren't able to open your hands to receive what is there for you, what's coming for you, what's already available to you. So I think that's also an important question. Am I holding on to something that I should be letting go of because it's no longer serving me? This person that I am becoming, this person that is ready to step forward in this stage of her life and to live from the state of abundance. So, what are you ready for? What are you ready to open your hands for? I'd love to hear your answers. And as we're talking about, opening your hands to let go so that you can receive, number 4 is being open to receive. In my work, this is one of the biggest challenges of my clients. We are such giving people, especially people who want to serve and want to help others. We're quite often putting ourselves out there to give and to serve and to share and to help. And we want to give and push our energy outward because we think that that means that we become worthy. But here's the thing. Worthiness is also about receiving. And you can't receive more than you believe you are worthy of. And so if you believe that you're not worthy of receiving without doing, without performing, without pleasing, without sacrificing, then it's going to be hard to create that flow of abundance. And so you end up feeling that little bit depleted or, frustrated or just feeling, a little bit sort of taken for granted, whatever it may be, because you haven't yet accepted that you are also worthy of receiving, not just giving and serving. Or maybe you receive, you allow yourself to receive, but then you reject it in some way. And so how many of us, and this was something that was really part of my reality, was, getting something, but then not being able to hold on to it, having money flow my way and then very quickly, spending it, releasing it because I didn't feel that I was worthy of holding on to it. And that was something that I had to work through, and something a lot of my clients have to work through, because you can receive, but also if you feel like you're not worthy of holding on to it, then you release it and you also begin to disrupt that flow of abundance in your life. Um, I have a friend, or I had a friend who, if you gave her gifts, she would accept them, but invariably she would regift them, sometimes back to me and sometimes to others. And it began to be a running joke, who's going to get, the regifted gift this time? Because she really couldn't accept things that were flowing her way. And as someone giving the gift to her, it made me feel really uncomfortable, almost unworthy, because she didn't want what I had to give her. And things that I was giving her were out of love, and other friends as well. We were giving her these gifts out of love, made us feel really uncomfortable. And so we began to stop giving the gifts. We would spend moments with her, but we wouldn't give gifts anymore. And so imagine that that is what's happening vibrationally in the universe. If you are not opening yourself to receive, or if you're receiving, but you're giving it away, the universe says, well, she's not comfortable with this. So I'll stop the flow right now until she is, because the universe is always giving us exactly what we believe we're worthy of and exactly what we ask for subconsciously. Not what we say what we want, but what we truly believe. That is what is coming to us. And so when you know that you are worthy and you believe that you have the capacity to hold abundance, more will flow to you. But what's really important is believing and understanding and feeling that you are safe to hold the abundance. You're safe to hold the abundance. And so, what I'd like to do is to share an exercise with you around safety and holding on to abundance. And this exercise is called Safe to Hold. And it's really simple, but really powerful. And I love doing this because it really does touch all aspects of your life. And, you can do it as many times as you need and revisit it as many times as you need, because sometimes we just need a retune, a refinement in order to keep the flow of abundance in our lives. And so the safe to hold embodiment exercise begins first with realizing that we're going to be looking at our capacity to hold. And so, first of all, we want to get into a state where we want to make the body feel safe. And so I invite you to find a quiet place, a safe place, a place where you feel really comfortable and warm. And so, get yourself comfortable, have a seat or lie down, and begin to just settle, allowing your energy just to settle. And breathe, just breathe slowly in and out of the body. And sometimes we forget to take time just to allow ourselves to slow down, to settle, to be. And so you can begin to say to yourself, I give myself permission to breathe. I give myself permission to hear. And I create spaces of safety for this work today. And just breathe. Breathe in that space. And you can even ask yourself, am I ready? Am I ready for this exploration? And sometimes the answer might be no. That's okay. So no judgment. But if you're ready, then you can begin this exploration. This really is an exercise of exploration. And so we're going to be looking at the 10 portals of abundance. I've identified 10 areas that we can begin to take a deeper look at abundance in our lives. So we have health, love, creativity, joy, happiness, success, pleasure, spirituality, wealth, and time. You can, use these, or maybe you have some other ones that really resonate with you. But I like to look at these areas because I feel it really does cover quite a lot. So we have health, love, creativity, joy, happiness, success, pleasure, spirituality, wealth, and time. And the question that I like to ask for each of these areas, one by one, is, do I feel safe to hold? Do I feel safe to hold abundant health in my body? And then I wait and feel what that feels like in the body. And what do you notice? Does saying those words, does it feel expansive, or do you feel constriction in the body? Is there a vibration that feels pleasurable, or does it feel a little bit uncomfortable? Begin to ask yourself, where do I feel abundant health in my body? And then waiting for the answers. Am I safe to hold abundant health in my body? And, and again, as I say, no judgment. And this is an exercise of exploration. And if the answer is no, then you can begin to say, well, if it's not, so what's there? Is there fear? Is there worry? What is there? If you don't feel safe to hold abundant health in your body, what story is there that the body is there telling you? Is it connected to a memory? Thinking about what this may be connected to can really help to begin to identify the areas that are holding the story of not being safe to hold plenty and abundance. And then asking yourself, what does the body need? What does that space in you need right now? So let's say the energy of health, abundant health, or the constriction around that lives in your belly. So you can begin to place your hands on your belly and say, well, what do you need, belly, in order to hold abundant health? What do you need? So this becomes an exercise of deep listening. So the belly may say, well, I need movement. Or maybe that memory that you've brought up needs you to journal or write it out. Or maybe there's a inner child in you that needs some attention. So we begin to explore what is keeping you from feeling safe to hold that. And then you run through all of the 10 things, and you might do one a day, two a day, three a day. You might feel like, I want to run through all 10 to see where those areas of constriction are. I like to go through all 10 because some feel great. I'm like, okay, fantastic. And then I notice in doing all 10, what feels good and what really needs my attention. And then I can go back to those areas that need the attention. And I invite you to do the same. And then you can begin to recalibrate. So let's say we found an area where it doesn't feel safe to hold love. And maybe that sits in the heart. And we've asked the questions, what does the heart need to feel safe? And we can begin to recalibrate once we've had those answers. So holding the heart and then saying things like, I am safe to hold an abundance of love in my heart. My body knows how to hold joy, love, and flow. I honor fear, but I also choose to trust in this moment. Abundance and plenty is present in my heart and present within me. So you can begin to recalibrate. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe to hold love and so much more. Begin to speak those words to you until you feel the energy shift. And then we ask the body to anchor. So, what does the heart need? What does the body need? So, maybe it's shaking it out. If you've been holding your heart, maybe you shake your hands. And then I like to open my arms And imagine that I'm scooping up all the energy of abundance and plenty, and I'm placing it in that area that I was just working on. And holding that energy and scooping, and then placing the energy in that space. And then you can use this exercise to go through the entire body. So maybe you feel that it's not quite safe to hold an abundance of success. And maybe that sits in your shoulders. So saying, okay, thank you, shoulders. Okay, so what do you need? What do my shoulders need? So they need movement. So you go ahead and you move the shoulders. Okay, so then you recalibrate with those statements. I'm safe to expand into abundance here. And you hold that area. I honor fear, but I choose to expand. I choose to trust. My body, my shoulders know how to hold joy, love, success, and flow. Plenty and abundance are present within me. I am abundance. And you work through all of the 10 aspects or others that you've chosen, and you anchor. So, what does that look like? Maybe it looks like dancing. I like to use my hula hoop. Secret. I like to use my hula hoop when I'm anchoring because it makes me laugh and it brings me joy. And so I'm anchor through hula hooping, not hula, hula hooping. And so what brings you joy? Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's running, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's being in the forest, which I equally love. And so what anchors you? So what can you do? And just listening to the body to allow you to anchor that feeling of safety, to hold the abundance that is available to you. Because after all, and in the beginning, you are abundance. You've always been, and you always will be. And so I hope that has helped. I hope that you realize that in understanding your abundance, you can return to this state because it is you. It's always been you. It always will be you. And you are worthy of having it and holding it. I wish that for you. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Beyond the Nudge. I hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take that bold next step into your year of significance. Remember, this is just the beginning. We have so much more to explore together. Be sure to tune into the next episode where we will dive into next month's theme, and that is Visionary Woman. So June is about being visionary and what that means, a visionary woman. And next month's theme is defining a visionary life. So if you're ready, you won't want to miss this one. So before we wrap up, I'd love to share two causes close to my heart. As you may know, I proudly support Women for Women International, an incredible organization empowering women in war-torn countries to rebuild their lives, and Mantle of Hope in northern Uganda, a charity offering hope and support to the victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. If you're moved to make a difference, I encourage you to learn more about their transformative work and consider joining me in supporting them. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this episode with someone who could use a little nudge of her own. Because remember, your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. See you next time.